I'm going to tell you a story. Again, oops, I'm not supposed to do that. I touched the microphone, bad boy. I'm going to tell you a story about a woman. It's a true story. Her name was Helen. I first met Helen, well, the only time I met Helen, was about 15 or 20 years ago. I may have met her, but I never had a conversation with her because Helen was dead. I met Helen in her closed casket. And she made the most profound impact on my spiritual and faith life. That is something that I've never, ever forgotten. Let me explain. Helen outlived all of her friends. She outlived all of her family. She was from the Roxbury, Dorchester area. And like many people in her older years, she decided to move to Cape Cod to live them out. But again, when it was her time to go home, there was nobody to send her home. Now, I enter the story because I'm the music minister at a parish in Roxbury, St. Catherine Drexel. It used to be called St. John St. Hugh. And Helen, for most of her younger years, was a member of that parish. So when the parish priest called and said, we have a funeral on X day, and the woman's name is Helen, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, got all the vital particulars. He said, you can choose the music. There was no request or anything like that. I'm used to doing that. It's kind of routine for a music minister. We get the privilege and the honor of being at baptisms and weddings and daily masses and prayer services and funerals, all this such of stuff, right? But I get to the church this time, and there's nobody there. Nobody. Except Helen, the priest, the funeral director, two of his assistants, and myself. It's kind of like, what if you gave a party and nobody came? But what struck me about this situation is that I could have mailed it in. I could have pushed the autopilot button, sung that funeral, grabbed the check, gone on about my business. It's done. But I talked to the priest about it just before the funeral mass began. And I said, what's up with this? What do we do here? He said, we're going to have a funeral mass. I said, okay, you say so. So the funeral begins, does the introductory rites, receives the body, places the pall, places the Christian symbols on top. He does the opening prayer, does the first reading. And then I started to sing the song. The Lord is my shepherd, there is nothing I shall want. And I sang the verses too. And all of a sudden, I'm used to congregations where there's some wailing, there's some emotion, there's some crying, some shouting sometimes. People are moved. There was nothing. He did the second reading. I did the gospel acclamation. He read the gospel. And then this priest got there, and he preached a homily like I had never heard him preach before. I still remember that homily today, and why that funeral was so important to him. And because it became so important to him, it became especially important to me. I will never, ever forget Helen. I couldn't tell you what that woman looked like. I couldn't tell you what her voice sounded like. I couldn't tell you the smell of her perfume. But I can tell you that Helen changed my life.